Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk at Black Hat USA 2025. I'm Terry Sweeney, contributing editor with Dark Reading, and joining me now on the stage is James Robinson, CISO with Netskope. James, thanks for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Appreciate you doing this. Of course, you're here representing a vendor, but you're also here as a CISO, which is a unique perspective. As a CISO, help us understand how you've been incorporating AI as part of Netskope's own cyber risk management program.
Yeah, so obviously we're incorporating AI in all of our products and looking at so many different areas on the innovation side. But at the same time, as a practicing CISO, I want to incorporate the same technologies internally. So not only am I meeting with all of our vendors when I'm here and having the conversations, what's your roadmap, what's AI going for inside of your organization, but then also inside of our team, we're also incorporating different levels of AI, from being able to look at troubleshooting faster, to being able to do vendor assessments faster,
Sure.
being able to understand what does this risk actually mean, and can we summarize it very easy so that I can share it with other business units and teams, and just put it into more of a business level context conversation instead of something that is a very detailed conversation around a vulnerability or something that's this configuration is off, and then how does this risk actually impact a business? So it's much faster, much easier. So we're looking at areas like that as well.
All right. I mean, I imagine it may also change the way that you give feedback about products or updates or those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'll share a little bit. So it used to be when I'd help the product teams and we'd write like a PRD, a product requirements doc. That may take a couple of days.
Okay.
Now it can take a couple of hours, right? And that's the power that we started to recognize very early on, even for any individual inside of the organization to be able to take advantage of some of the tools that we're getting from our partners internally, some of the collaboration partners that we have, such as Google and those others.
All right. Let's go back to your own AI deployment for a second. I'm super curious some of the early lessons that you may have learned from how it's gone. Can you share some of those?
So we actually started our AI journey, I'd say years ago. I remember the first time I saw this report that came from KPMG and they published it online. I immediately took that and took those controls. It was before any other controls frameworks were out there. Took those controls and started working with our AI labs team at the time. It was really AI was ML at that time.
Right.
And we started to break down those controls. So we started governance very early on. Everything changed for us when our customers started asking us questions about our own use of AI. And at that point, then it became a business level conversation, not just about the technology and how we're using it and governing it, but then what are we using our customers' information for, not using our customers' information for, and how are we approaching it, both short-term and long-term. And so those are where the conversations have gone to, and kind of what we learned early on. What we're dealing with now, honestly, is what does this world of agentic look like? What does it mean for us?
Yeah.
For us internally, we've had many different projects. We just released an MCP server as a company. At the same time, our internal security team had to get offensive. We had to understand, how do we attack this thing? How do we look at it? Are there risks out there, and try to be a little more bleeding edge as these new technologies, because it's so fast, the development is.
How much has your role as CISO changed? Say the frequency or the volume of your interaction with other departments within the Netskope organization.
Yeah.
How has that shifted over time?
It shifted a ton, and I'll give an example. Before we'd go into annual planning, you'd have some meetings with some of your other peers, and I would say, well, what kind of projects are you working on? What's the new thing that you're doing? Immediately when AI kind of came to the race, next thing you know, they all had AI projects going on, right?
Okay.
And so then we had to start stepping and saying, okay, how do we support you in this? What are your questions? How do we do vendor assessments faster? We get a lot of feedback that says, hey, the vendor assessments need to go quicker. We need to identify these vendors, get them through the governance processes, understand how are they using our information or not using their information, and speed that up. So those conversations have really turned from, what kind of projects are you working on? Oh, I got this one thing, two thing, to now I have a half a dozen things or a dozen things that we're trying to get done. And it's all led because of AI. It's just the rapid iteration and the development and the excitement around it for workforce productivity, to being able to work through issues faster, to be able to troubleshoot things faster, and then obviously with automation, then start to look at how do we support more agentic frameworks and such.
All right. James, what other advice would you offer security practitioners who are trying to deal with everything that
Yeah.
AI is pushing onto their desktops?
I would say first, if you don't have a governance framework that you're aligned with, get a governance framework. Back yourself with that. If you want to use AI RMF from NIST, or if you want to use something from the European theater, great frameworks that you can baseline off of. Two, if you haven't set the stage and had the conversations with all of your vendors about what they're doing, where they're going, what does that mean for them? How can you incorporate that into your program and your own plans? Could be 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Have those conversations now. Third thing I always recommend, find an offensive capability so you can test it yourself. So as your own business units and teams are starting to do things, you can incorporate those things into your own program and be able to communicate that back to those business units so you don't find yourself in a bad position where you release something that wasn't secure.
All right. James, real briefly now, your Threat Labs unit just published a report on agentic AI.
Yeah.
Can you share some of the high-level points with us?
Yeah, it was actually a surprising one that came across. So we did an analysis. It's the first report I've seen where agentic AI was actually the focus. So we looked across an anonymized set of data for all of our customer base and started to see not only where agentic's being used and how we can understand that, but then also where people are using their own LLMs, things like Olama, and they're downloading them.
Okay.
So before, all of our reports were very enterprise focused about, say, OpenAI or Google Gemini or AWS Bedrock. Now we're focusing more on what's people downloading, what are they doing on their own computers, because as we focus on agentic more, you're going to essentially have employees that have joined your organization that you never knew were there.
All right. Well, some really great insights about AI, both as a CISO and as a vendor and a user of the technology. James, thanks so much for all the insights around AI, both as a CISO, a vendor, and as an end user. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Dark reading. Thanks.
We've been talking with James Robinson, CISO with Netskope. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you next time.